Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to talk about the premiere of Gavan Infinity. I watched it yesterday and I sat on it for a day, so here are my thoughts on the first episode of the new series Project Red, Super Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity. So coming in, I really didn't know what to expect. A brand new show replacing Sentai. I was curious at how much of the original Gavan it would pull from. I saw somewhere that it wasn't actually a reboot, but I heard a lot of people saying that it is actually a reboot. So I was curious about that aspect. Obviously, I was curious about if it would be similar to either Sentai or Rider. I was surprised that they chose Gavan at all because of all the rumors that Metal Heroes would replace Sentai, and in a way it did. And especially after Gojuju was such a letdown, I was just excited for something new. I had already watched the 3 seasons of Space Sheriff before this, even though I had the expectation that they weren't really going to be connected at all. I just wanted to get a sense of it, and going in I was more excited for Tokusho than I have been in a while. As for my overall thoughts on the episode itself, it was about what I expected. A pretty par for the course premiere. It set up the world. It had some cool action, gave a first look at the characters, felt a little rushed in some cases. I would say the first shot of the show where it's like Earth is inhabited by aliens, it's just a shot of aliens, that reminded me a lot of SPD, and I saw that some other people thought that, so I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that. Characters look really cool for now. Action looks pretty cool. Some cool Easter eggs that call back to the original Gavan. It feels way more sci-fi than either Sentai or Rider, maybe besides Q Ranger, but that's kind of the exception. So I'm glad in that way it feels different, but in some ways it also feels pretty similar to the Rider, which I'll talk about later. And it is the first episode, so I don't want to pull too much from it, but I'm just hoping that it can forge its own identity. I'm interested who the villains will actually be. Premise of the season is cool with the different Gavins from the different universes. So overall, it was a pretty par for the course premiere episode, but it definitely got my hopes up, and it was a pretty good episode overall. Now let's talk about the characters. Reiji seems like he'll be one of my favorite Otoko protagonists in a really long time. And I've been wanting this type of character in both Rider and Sentai for a while now, and I'm glad that we finally got a character who isn't either a super overpowered person or a crazy eccentric weirdo. He's kind of middle, where he is really cool, but he also seems like a down-to-earth guy. He can be goofy when he needs to be without being completely overbearable, and he's believable in all those cases, but especially the part that he's cool, because I feel like there hasn't been a strictly cool Toku protagonist in a pretty long while, and I'm glad we finally got it with him, at least from the premiere. He seems like he has a lot of potential, especially with his backstory that was hinted at. Gavin Bushido showed up for a short while. Can't really say much about his character because he wasn't really around for that long, but I am glad that they didn't introduce too much of him, because I feel like that would have made the episode feel more cluttered than it needed to be. So I'm glad that they pushed his formal reveal into the next episode. Introduced to some of the command ship characters. Obviously can't really comment on them because they weren't really characterized at all right now. There is a comic relief duo with one of the cops and a robot that looks kind of like that robot from Lupin Ranger vs. Pato Ranger. Probably could be funny, but also might be a little annoying. So overall, I think the characters gave a pretty good first impression. Can't really say much about the villains. Villain this episode was mostly just a civilian of the week using the Emo gear, which I assume is going to be the villain of most of the episodes, a civilian of the week type. So could be fine, but it's a wait and see for them because we don't really know the main villains yet. As I said earlier, there are a couple of callbacks to the original Gavan. One of the commanders is named Calm, just like the commander from the OG Gavan. The helper robot lady uses some sort of laser vision type thing, which is a reference to Mimi using laser vision in Gavan. And then the Jochok process is just completely ripped, which I assumed was going to be there, where he transforms in real time and then it goes back to explain his Jochok process. But here it's actually cool because the Jochok process in Gavan is so boring. Here it is actually pretty cool. I hope it's not like that every single episode, but I wouldn't mind it every once in a while because it was actually pretty cool. The one problem I do have is that on the surface level, it seems a little too similar to Rider, and it's just from the premiere, so I don't want to judge the entire season like this. But just from the first episode, it has reminded me a lot of how Rider works, just how the gimmicks seem very Rider coded. I feel like Sentai and Rider had different types of gimmicks, and the Emo gears feel very much like a Rider gimmick. The way the civilian of the weeks use the gimmick to transform into monsters of the week is very much like Rider, and just the way that there's individual heroes, but probably by then they're gonna team up. Obviously that's just very surface level. Rider has a lot of other themes that make unique, especially pretty much the core tenet of all writer shows is that the hero uses the villain's technology against them, and I don't think that's the case here. But just from the feel of the show, it feels a lot like Writer, and I hope throughout the show it can feel different. I'm hoping that this is kind of just a one-off thing, and it mostly feels like its own from here on out. The aesthetics are definitely really cool. I'm kind of mixed on the suits. Sometimes when I see Gavan Infinity, I like it. Sometimes I don't. I think overall I don't like that they gave it like the weird headphones and made its helmet both silver and red. I think they split it at the wrong part. There's too much silver or too much red, or I don't know. There's something always off about it, but I do like it how shiny it is. It looks really cool in action. Gavan Bushido looks really cool. Probably the only Gavan suit that I really have no problems with. We haven't seen Gavan Luminous in this show yet. Her suit is fine. Kind of same problem with Gavan Infinity. I don't really like the different colors. Music is great as always. Of what I heard of the opening theme, sounded really cool. So overall, a pretty cool looking season. So in conclusion, while this was a pretty generic premiere episode, it definitely got my hopes up for this show being really good, especially after the disappointment of Gojuger. I'm just happy that it seems like we're going to get a pretty solid season coming forward. Reiji is a type of character that I've been wanting for a really long time. I'm hoping that his potential is reached. Action looked really cool. I like the sci-fi aesthetic. Music sounded good from what I heard. I'm hoping that it doesn't feel too similar to Writer like this episode did, but overall this episode did exactly what it needed to and got me excited for the future. Season looks like it's going to be really enjoyable, and I'm hoping that the first step of Project Red is a really big step forward. So thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed. It's still kind of weird that Sentai is over, but the show looks like it's gonna be a pretty good substitute, and I'm really happy that the premiere was pretty good. As for my next video, it's gonna be on the 3 original Space Sheriff series, Gavan, Charivan, and Scheider. I'll get that out sometime next month. So thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed. Feedback is always appreciated. Have a great day.